Hey everyone, and welcome to the live recording of episode 50 of Nerd Alert News. Same thing I normally say. If you guys aren't familiar, most of the time, I didn't do it last week because I got pressed for time. Most of the time I try to do a live recording of Nerd Alert News here on YouTube Live. You'll get a preview of how I do the recording and some light editing on the fly in Audacity, in addition to seeing the show notes as I go through them and kind of seeing my speaking points and getting an idea of how I structure the show. So if this is your first time watching a live recording of Nerd Alert News, welcome to the show. If you're a returning customer, not customer, if you're a returning consumer, thank you so much for tuning in. And I guess it's time we start recording the show, so I'm going to switch over to the recording page here. So as you can see on here, the left side of the screen, we have the show notes we'll be going through for episode 50. Top right, you get to see me as I read show notes and make strange faces sometimes because I do that when I record this show. Bottom right-hand corner of the screen is an embed of the Audacity window, so you can see the waveform as I record and also see any slight edits I might make as we do this. As I'm looking at this right now, I see I have the gain turned up just a touch too high on my iMic that I use to record all of this, so I'm going to turn it down to about 40% or so, because I can always tweak it a little bit in post-production if it's low, but if I get excited, I get real loud. I've noticed, real loud. Yeah, what can you do? So guys, I'm going to get a drink of water, and we're going to start with this live recording. That's the other fun. You get to watch me drink water while I do this, because I found that a solo podcast makes me get parched fairly quickly for some reason. So, you guys are tired of hearing me ramble. Why don't we start recording this podcast in 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, I'm Chris Farrell, and welcome to episode 50 of Nerd Alert News. As a personal note, episode 50, it's not as huge a milestone as it used to be, but for me, it's a pretty awesome milestone to get to episode 50 in much less than a year. I think the podcast has only been on the air for 9 months at this point in time, and that's because I've had some fun and gone, you know what, this week we need to have double episodes because there's too much cool news going on. So from time to time you get double episodes in a week, and maybe even one day triple episodes. We'll see what happens. It depends on how froggy I'm feeling. But it's hard to keep on top of all the nerdy news that floods the internet. That's where this show comes in. I'm going to do all that hard work. I'm going to find that news that you need to know, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Excuse me. I did not back far enough away from the mic from that. Now you see how the sausage is made. I make weird coughing noises and look strange on camera. It's a gift. Alrighty. But that's enough of my rambling through the intro. Let's get to what you guys are really here for. Let's get to the headlines. So this first story comes courtesy of the fine folks over at Geek Tyrant. Vin Diesel has pretty much confirmed that the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to appear in Avengers Infinity War. So many fanboys, including myself, have had much speculation that Infinity War is the movie where they're bringing all the superheroes together. That means the Guardians have to show up, but Marvel has not said anything official until this point. In fact, Marvel still hasn't said anything official, but fanboys like me were like, it's gotta happen. And when the Russos drop lines, like, there's going to be something like 68 superheroes in this movie. You start counting up all the superheroes in the MCU and you go, how are we going to get to 68 unless you bring in some other characters like the Guardians and some new stuff? It's neither here nor there, but Vin Diesel has confirmed it. He hosted a live chat on Facebook where he seemingly let the cat out of the bag. Here is the important stuff that came out of the chat. According to Vin Diesel, next year you've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 coming, and that whole concept started from you all saying, when are you going to be in a Marvel movie? And you remember the first picture after that Marvel meeting where I was standing with the Avengers thing in the back, and you can look up that picture. There was this old Avengers copy that was behind me in that picture. If you look back on my Facebook page, you'll find that. What's going to be surreal is that picture is going to come to pass because now the Guardians will be included in Avengers Infinity War, and that's incredibly exciting. Incredibly exciting, and something that if you're a part of our page, you knew before everybody. He's not teasing. He just straight up confirmed that Guardians of the Galaxy are going to appear in Avengers Infinity War. So let me take a moment here to geek out a little bit and go, yes! I cannot wait for this because Guardians of the Galaxy is an awesome movie. It defied my expectations. It's going to be fun, and I can't wait to see that element of comedy of the Guardians of the Galaxy showing up to fight Thanos, presumably, with the Avengers. I want to see Rocket Raccoon interact with Tony Stark. I want to see Peter Quill make 80s quips towards Tony Stark as well. I can't wait to see what happens here. It's going to be a ton of fun. I can't help but wonder, though, is Marvel going to get a little hacked off that Vin Diesel let the cat out of the bag? Or is this just a case of Marvel being like, yeah, let it out on your Facebook. We don't need to have this one. Put it out this way. We'll see how well it grows virally and go from there. I don't know what the case is. All I know is I'm super excited to see the Guardians are coming to Avengers Infinity War. I'm not surprised to hear it's happening, but I'm happy to hear that it's happening. And hopefully there's no repercussions for Vin Diesel that come out of this. I would hate to see them like, well, you spoiled this, you're fired. Part of me really hopes this was all just part of a viral marketing plan from Marvel to work with Vin Diesel to get this news out. So if you're a longtime listener to Nerd Alert News or any other podcast I've been on that includes the GonnaGeek.com show or All Things Good Nerdy, or if you've just consumed my Twitter feed in the last 2 or 3 years, you know I am a huge Mass Effect fanboy. I love the Mass Effect games. As I record this right now, if you look over my left shoulder, there is a Commander Shepard Funko Pop, a Garrus Vakarian Funko Pop, and behind me, that I have not got set up on my desk yet, is a Talizora Funko Pop. I love me some Mass Effect. I've got Mass Effect prop replicas upstairs, all sorts of scale replicas of the Normandy. It's one of my favorite sci-fi and gaming series of all time. I'm not going to get into any of my issues I might have had with the series. Everyone's going to have issues with things they love, regardless of that. It's one of my favorite series. I go back, I replay Mass Effect 2 and 3 all the time. Mass Effect 1, not so much. It's not as good. The storylines are all set up in that game, but the gameplay is a little clunky compared to 2 and 3. But I've replayed Mass Effect 2 probably 8-9 times. Mass Effect 3 probably 6 to 8 times. I have a hopeless addiction, and it's to Mass Effect. And evidently, EA is going to help me keep this tradition going of being hopelessly addicted to Mass Effect, but now I can do it on my Xbox One, presumably. IGN had a story coming out of Gamescom where EA had said Mass Effect remasters are likely coming. Excuse me. I'm all coffee tonight live, guys. Sorry about that. So if you snap back to about a year ago, EA's Patrick Soderlund stated that the company had looked at remastering old games, but after weighing up where to invest resources, decided it was better for developers to, quote, be working on a completely new IP, end quote, rather than invest time with remasters. But in the last year, we've seen remasters of everything come out. We've seen Gears of War. We've seen all sorts of other games. So it seems like EA has seen the writing on the wall that these other remasters are coming out. They're successful. Maybe we should look into it. So in an interview with Game Informer at this year's Gamescom, Soderlund acknowledged BioWare's Mass Effect series was one the publisher was carefully considering for a remaster. He said, "What's changed is that there is proof in the market that people want it, maybe more than when we spoke. There were some that did it before, but I think there's even more clear evidence that this is something that people really want. The honest answer is that we are absolutely actively looking at it. I can't announce anything today, but you can expect us to likely follow up Wow. We're going to delete all of this, anyone who's watching on the live stream, because I have just stuttered through the entire thing. BioWare's Mass Effect series was one the publisher was carefully considering for a remaster. He said, "What's changed?" All right, and that's the point I need to delete. And we're going to completely reread this quote because I butchered it. Absolutely butchered it. Absolutely butchered it. Sorry about that. This is the worst I've butchered a quote on a live broadcast. Remaster. He said, all right, so we're going to start from he said. And we're going to go from here. What's changed is that there is proof in the market that people want it. Maybe more than when we son of a gun. I can't talk today. What's changed is that there is proof in the market people want it. Maybe more than there was when we spoke. There were some that did it before, but I think there's even more clear evidence that this is something that people really want. The honest answer is that we are absolutely actively looking at it. I can't announce anything today, but you can expect us most likely to follow our fellow partners in Activision and other companies that have done this successfully. This was all in regards to being asked if the Mass Effect Trilogy was being looked at for a remastered release. Again, I need to have my next nerd moment and go, Yes, because like I said as I set this up, I love me some Mass Effect. I have spread the love of Mass Effect to people. People are like, I like games. What should I play? I'm always like, Mass Effect 2 and 3. What about Mass Effect 1? I don't know, get the motion comic, read/play that, then do Mass Effect 2 and 3. I have been one of the biggest spreaders of love for that game, for that series, and if they're going to put a remaster that comes out on Xbox One or PS4, I'm totally picking it up as soon as it comes out. Well, maybe not as soon as it comes out, because if it comes out about the same time as Mass Effect Andromeda, I'll be busy playing the new adventures in the Mass Effect galaxy. But rest assured, I will be picking up a copy of the Mass Effect remasters if they actually do this. My only hope is they actually bundle all of the DLC in with these remasters instead of keeping some of it out. And what I mean by that is when they released the Mass Effect Trilogy 3-pack, you got, I think, almost all the DLC in Mass Effect 1 and 2, but not all of the DLC for Mass Effect 3. So you plop down your cash for all of that, and then you plop down more cash to play DLC. And honestly, most games I don't buy the DLC for, or I buy bits and pieces of it. Mass Effect 2 and 3, I own every bit of DLC that's come out for it because I had to have it. I had to see how it changed the story. I had to see how it impacted the characters I came to love. Guys, I'm hopelessly addicted to Mass Effect 2 and 3. EA, give me more of my addiction. Put out remasters so I can keep playing this on my Xbox One and not have to keep my Xbox 360 hooked up to my TV because really, all it gets used for is Mass Effect 2 and 3. Guys, I really have a problem. I'm hopelessly addicted to Mass Effect. No joke, I really am. One more headline story and we'll get into other stuff. So I have one more headline story this week, and it's a pretty cool one. This comes courtesy of the folks over at The Verge, where John Williams has confirmed he is working on the Star Wars VIII score. Again, I need to have another fanboy moment as I geek out a little bit because it's not Star Wars without John Williams' music. Now, they came close in the Shadows of the Empire soundtrack for that game, but not quite the same. So, yes, John Williams is coming back. He spoke on stage during a Boston performance of his various compositions recently. He told the crowd he had seen an early cut of the movie and would begin work on its score in the coming weeks. Williams reportedly said his motivation for accepting the episode 8 job was Daisy Ridley's portrayal of Rey, stating he took the job because he didn't want to let another composer have the chance to score her scenes. Williams has referenced Ridley's performance as the primary motive for his continued involvement in the franchise. He said in an interview in Variety in June, I told Kathy Kennedy I'm happy to do it, but the real reason is I don't want anyone else writing music for Daisy Ridley. That's pretty cool. And to be honest, Daisy Ridley was freaking awesome as Rey. She was captivating on screen. I loved the character. The way she portrayed the character was awesome. There was an earnestness and a joy to that character as she stepped off of Jakku and into the rest of the larger galaxy. I'm kind of with him. I'd want to write music for that character too because the possibilities are endless where it could go. And there's some really cool, fresh Star Wars music that John Williams got to put out for Episode 7 with some ties back to the original trilogy. I can't wait to see where he's going to go with the Episode 8 score. But in all honesty, part of that reason is because A, I'm a huge Star Wars geek. B, I'm a huge John Williams Star Wars fan. And C, I'm a huge John Williams fan in general. So I can't wait to to hear the new themes and the new music he comes up with for Star Wars 8. And like I said, it's not a Star Wars movie without John Williams doing the score. So this is a win for everyone who loves Star Wars that John Williams is returning to do the score for Episode 8. Hopefully he comes back for Episode 9 in 4 years from? No, it's going to be 3 years from now that Episode 9 comes out. No, wait. 4 years. I can't do math, but it's going to be a few years from now. I can't do math. Hopefully he decides to come back, though. That's the important thing to me. That has wrapped up the headlines for this week, though. If you've been listening to the show before or watched the live streams, you do know I have a featured story. I'm going to touch on that in a second. But first, I want to remind folks that Nerd Alert News is in fact part of a network. It is the GonnaGeek Network. There is a variety of different nerdy, awesome, geeky podcasts available on the GonnaGeek Network. I think we're up to either 17 or 18 shows at this point in time. It's a lot of shows, but it's fun. We're almost like a weird, kooky sort of family as we work together and we share ideas and we guest host among ourselves. And I always want to try and highlight one specific show on the network. And this week I want to talk to you guys about episode 26 of the Game Life Balance US podcast. This is entitled Travel Tips and Stories from Las Vegas and Spain. John returns from Las Vegas, which is one of his favorite destinations, and Cody returns from 2 weeks in Spain with some travel tips for listeners. And on top of that, they'll talk about some of the games they've been playing, like the latest Final Fantasy. And very briefly, I think there's a talk on No Man's Sky at the very end of the episode with kind of a tease. They'll be talking about it more later. I've actually played No Man's Sky myself, and it's not my cup of tea, but I can see where some people would love it. But that's neither here nor there. You can go check out episode 26 of Game Life Balance US over at GonnaGeek.com. And while you're there, don't forget you can always go to geeks.live or click the live button on GonnaGeek.com. It takes you to the live page where all of our live broadcasts are featured. But if there's nothing live at that time, it's okay. We have a simulated live stream. And by what I mean by that, rather, is that if you push play, based on the time of day it is, it starts you on a video and a YouTube playlist of all of the content on geeks.live. So you and your buddy could go to geeks.live on separate computers, push play, and you're automatically synced up, and you can talk about what you're watching together and be at the exact same timestamp. It's a pretty cool experience, and kudos to Steve and John Drew for putting all that together. He's busted his butt to make that work, and it is pretty doggone cool, I gotta be honest. Whew. Live viewers will be going on to our in-depth story here in just a second. You're probably going, why can't I see Chris yet? It's because I forgot to switch off of the rotating network logos on OBS. I'm going to switch that over right now. Hey. It's fun when OBS works the way it's supposed to. What did I say at the end? Pretty doggone cool, I gotta be honest. So that's enough about me rambling on the GonnaGeek Network. It's awesome, but what you guys really want to hear is the in-depth story of this week, so let's move on into that. And again, this is another piece that came out of Gamescom. Ubisoft has developed the Nosculus Rift experience. Now, let me set this up and explain what Nosculus Rift is. Have any of you guys played South Park: The Stick of Truth, the RPG game? If you haven't, well, let me give you a little bit of backstory. It's a South Park game, so obviously the humor is going to be raunchy and a little crude at times. It's part of the fun of South Park. In that game, farts double as magic. It's an RPG modeled after old school JRPGs, and farts are magic. You can do them to cast spells, you can do them to gross yourselves out, you can do them, I think, even to fly at one point in time. I don't really remember. They have carried this over into the most recent installment of the game, which will be coming out in December. That's entitled South Park: The Fractured Butthole. Pause, think for a second, you'll realize what they're saying with that episode title. I honestly didn't get it until this weekend because I'm slow. Well, at Gamescom 2016, Ubisoft unveiled their newest peripheral designed to enhance the South Park game experience. This device is entitled the Nosculus Rift. It's an augmented reality tool, and you might be asking, wait a second, what's this tool, Chris? Well, it's a mask-shaped peripheral that delivers fart smells straight into your nose as you play the game. To be clear, yes, this is an actual functioning device. Now, if you're thinking, ooh, that's nasty, but I kind of want one, here's the bad news. Ubisoft may have developed it, but it is only going to be available during conventions where they're showing off the game. So if they're at the next E3 with it for some reason, or any game convention up until release, you will see it there, but you will not be able to go to your local Best Buy or GameStop and be like, throw your cash down on the counter and say, I need the Nosculus Rift, because it is not available for consumers. But it is hilarious that Ubisoft spent the time to build this. There is a hilarious video that Ubisoft has up on their website. You can find that in the show notes. That is people playing South Park: The Fractured Butthole with the Nosculus Rift in place and doing farts and going, oh my god, and you can see their faces and their noses and they're going, oh, this is terrible, and kind of shaking their heads, but laughing at the same time. As just an observer, it's absolutely hilarious, but if I had the Nosculus Rift on, I would probably be super grossed out. And from what I can tell and from what people have described as their experience from having this, it smells just like real farts. So as stupid as it is absolutely hilarious. It is the kind of thing you would expect from folks that are doing a South Park game. It's the kind of thing you can kind of think Trey Parker and Matt Stone are probably like, this is hilarious. You guys need to do this. Nosculus Rift. direct from Ubisoft. Go and check that out on Ubisoft's website, which you can find in Nerd Alert News' show notes. You can go to bit.ly/nerdalert50 to find that for yourself. I think it is absolutely hilarious. Should it be the in-depth story of the week? Probably not, but it made me laugh so hard when I read this. I was like, okay, I have to share this on Nerd Alert News. This is hilarious. It's brilliant, and I'm kind of hoping that the Cody and John on Game Life Balance US talk about it this week. But that is going to wrap up this latest installment of Nerd Alert News, the big episode 50 milestone. If you want any more details on any of the stories I've covered this week, these show notes are available online. You can go to shownotes.nerdalertnews.com. You'll see a Google Doc folder embedded on that page where you can find the show notes for episodes 1 through 50. See them for yourselves. Read the the script points I've marked out. Go and read the full articles for yourself if it is something that is interesting to you. Go and find that all over on the show notes. If you want to get in touch with the show, there's all sorts of ways to do so. Head on over to nerdalertnews.com. Email me, nerdalertnews247@gmail.com. Tweet to @nerdalertshow like Cajun Sean did. I did not see it until like 5 minutes before I started recording this episode. I saw you had sent a story my way. I will put that in episode 51, Cajun Sean. Don't worry, I'm not forgetting about you. You can find it on Facebook, the show, at facebook.com/nerdalertshow. Pretty much we're everywhere. And if you forget all those, just go to GonnaGeek.com. You can find Nerd Alert News there. All the contact information is there. I really do greatly enjoy any and all feedback I get from you guys. It really helps me shape the show going forward. And I really do get a lot of entertainment out of taking the stories you guys give to me as something that's interesting and trying to share it with everyone who consumes the show, both in the audio and video format. However, I think that's going to wrap up this latest installment of Nerd Alert News. But don't worry, I'll be back real soon with your next Nerd Alert. Bye, guys. All right, those of you guys that are watching on the the YouTube live side of things, that is going to wrap up the live recording of episode 50 of Nerd Alert News. If you did watch live, thank you so much for tuning in live. I really did appreciate it. We'll be doing more of these in the future because they're a lot of fun. Hopefully you had as much fun as I did. But I think I'm going to get out of here, and I will see you guys later. Don't forget to check out all the other great content at geeks.live. And if you're watching the live stream as I record this on the 23rd of August at about 8:30 p.m., don't forget Game Life Balance US on geeks.live, I think in the next 25 minutes. Go check it out for yourself. I'll see you guys later.